Okay, hello everybody. This video is just to help you to try to get to standard form if you're given factored form or vertex form. So if we take a look at our flow chart, the first one is if we are trying to go from vertex form to standard form. You're going to have to use order of operations. If you don't remember, order of operations is PEMDAS. If you need more information about that, look over here on the bottom right-hand corner. I would go ahead and pause the video and write PEMDAS down and what each letter stands for, okay? The second thing is if we are trying to go from factored form to standard form. That's going to be the distributive property, okay? Two ways to think about how to use the distributive property. The first one is to use FOIL. And again, if you don't remember that from algebra, that's in the bottom right-hand corner here, the FOIL method. Remember, F stands for first terms that get multiplied together. O stands for the outside terms get multiplied together. I is the inside or inner terms get multiplied together. And L is the last terms. So it walks through an example in that corner, bottom right-hand corner there. So pause it, copy that down. Or your other option is to use that box method. It's the opposite of what we did with factoring, but instead you're going to put, for that example down there in the corner, you're going to put the 2x plus 3 on one side, and then you're going to put the 5x minus 8 on the other side and multiply each part. Like I said, the opposite of factoring. So 5x times 2x is 10x squared. Negative 8 times 2x is negative 16x. 5x times 3 turns out to be 15x, and 3 times negative 8 turns out to be negative 24. And what usually happens is you can go ahead and combine your like terms, which happens to usually be the O and the I terms. So your final answer would be 10x squared minus x, or 1x, and then minus 24. Okay? So let's take a look at some examples. So if you scroll to page 7, going from factored or vertex form to standard form. So number 12, if we take a look at this, this is what form? Factored form. We have the two parentheses. We know that the x-intercepts are negative 3 and positive 1. We know a lot of information about that. But if we want to write it in standard form, we can either use FOIL, where we would multiply the first terms. X times 2x is 2x squared. Multiply the outside terms, which would be negative 1x, multiply the inside terms, which would be 6x, and multiply the last terms, which would be negative 3. Then our only other job here is to make sure that we have this simplified and combine those like terms. This turns out to be 2x squared plus 5x minus 3. The other technique you can use, and like I said, it does not matter, is the box method. So this is FOIL, and then here's the box. You draw your box, your 2 by 2. Because I have x plus 3 in one parentheses, that's going to go on one side of the box. Doesn't matter which side, but I'm going to put it over here on the left, so x goes at the top square, and that plus 3 goes at the bottom. Then, since my other set of parentheses is 2x minus 1, those are going to go on the other side, which in this case will be the top, and it's going to be 2x for the first box, and then minus 1 for the second. Now you're just going to do every combination. Remember, to find the area of a square, you have to take length times width. So for this first upper left-hand box, it's 2x times x, so 2x times x turns out to be 2x squared. If I move to the box on the right over here, this is negative 1 times x. So negative 1 times x would be negative 1x. Box in the lower left here, it's 3 by 2x. So that would be an area of 6x. And then for the last area, last square, it would be 3 times negative 1, which is negative 3. So when you go ahead and simplify this, it turns out that you can combine your like terms, which are 6x and negative 1x. So my final answer would be 2x squared plus 5x minus 3. Notice you get the exact same answer. So that's why it doesn't matter if you use FOIL or the box method, you get the same thing. Let's take a look at 13. Same idea. Now here you'll notice that you have that extra 2 out in front. So order of operations tells us that you have to do one thing at a time. So what I do, and you can do it in a couple different orders here, is I go ahead and I start by multiplying the first 2 things on the left. So if I do that, this is the distributive property, remember? You end up getting 2x minus 8. That still has to stay in parentheses because I still need to multiply that whole thing, that whole binomial it's called, times the second set of parentheses, which is another binomial. So if you want to use FOIL, give it a shot. If you want to use the box method, give it a shot. It does not matter. But regardless, let me go ahead and show you the box method again just to make sure you understand that. So 2x and negative 8 on one side, x and plus 2 on the other side. Our area for each box would be 2x squared in the upper left-hand corner, 4x in the upper right-hand corner, negative 8x, and negative 16. So when I go ahead and combine these like terms, I end up getting 2x squared minus 4x minus 16. That would be the standard form from the factored form. Now the last 2 examples, these are vertex forms. So again, from this equation, y equals in parentheses x minus 1, that whole quantity squared, plus 10, I can identify the vertex, which is at 110. I know it opens up with an a value of 1. I know that the axis of symmetry would be at x equals 1, all of that good stuff. But if I need to get that to standard form, you use order of operations. Parentheses, I can't simplify that x minus 1. Exponents, I can get rid of that. So if I start by getting rid of that exponent, you'll notice it's the exact same thing as number 12 and 13 above. When we have that exponent of 2 on x minus 1, it doesn't mean you distribute the squared. What this means is x minus 1 times x minus 1. And then, of course, after I'm done with that, I end up with the 10. So exponents is very similar. It's the same idea as multiplication. So here, exponents I took care of. You can do that if you want to, or you can write it out as multiplication and then take care of the multiplication. So I would go ahead and continue to just do this. It's the exact same thing that we did, like I said, in 12 and 13. Use the box if you want to. Use FOIL. This time I'm going to go ahead and use FOIL since I just used the box method in number 13. So if I multiply my first terms, that's x squared. My outside terms is negative 1x. My inside terms are negative 1x. And my last term, because it's a negative 1 times a negative 1, turns out to be plus 1. And then don't forget I have that extra plus 10 from what's outside the parentheses. Now I just need to go ahead and combine my like terms. I've got 2 x terms right there. So y equals x squared. That becomes minus 2x. And then I have 2 constants, 1 plus 10. That becomes plus 11. That would be the standard form going from the vertex form. Okay, and last but not least, we have 15. We have f of x equals all of that fun stuff. I'm going to go ahead and first of all rewrite this so that I have the exponents gone, because this is a common mistake, you guys, that people just want to take that squared and multiply this in and say this is x squared plus 9. But you cannot do that. So take the extra 2 seconds, write it out so that you have 2 sets of parentheses multiplied together, and now do the exact same thing. So first things first, I'm going to take this negative and I'm going to multiply it times what's inside the first parentheses. So I end up getting negative x minus 3, still has to stay in parentheses because now I'm multiplying it times x plus 3. However you want to go ahead and do the multiplication, because we multiply before we subtract. This time I'll go ahead and use the box method. So on one side I have negative x and minus 3. On the other side I have x plus 3. Do the multiplication, the area, I get negative x squared. negative 3x, and minus 9. So f of x is going to be equal to, I can either at this point add the like terms, the negative 3x and negative 3x as I'm writing it out, or you can write it all out. It doesn't matter. But so if I do that, that's going to be negative x squared minus 6x minus 9, but then I still have that minus 4 that was at the end outside of the parentheses. I still have two constants that are like terms, so I can add those together. And I end up getting f of x is equal to negative x squared minus 6x and then negative 9 minus 4. Enter it on your calculator if you have to. Okay, but remember you only get a handheld calculator. Ends up being minus 13. So that again would be the standard form going from vertex form. Okay, if you have any questions, let us know. But look at the calendar, figure out your homework, and good luck. Okay? Bye, everybody.